Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Do I have everybody's attention now? Good. So today we got the Crash of the Titans and plus a little jab or two at folks because mm, not that I'm petty like that, but I guess I'm petty like that. Anyway, Quake, green, yellow, and blue user. The yellow ability doesn't really matter because Misty Knight doesn't use team attacks, so we don't have to worry too much about that. Quake's green ability, resonance. No. Her blue ability is resonance frequency, and her green ability is earthquake. I should know this here, considering the fact that Quake was needed in the Behemoth Burrito node. So her earthquake costs 11, does team damage, and then shuffles the board to a complete blank slate. Well, what I mean by a complete blank slate, like all the tiles that were currently on the board, they remain on the board. It's just that she doesn't make any cascades or start any, cascades whenever the board is settled. And then her blue ability, resonance frequency, this costs 7. No, it costs 8. And you select a color tile on the board, and then you eliminate so many of those colors on the board. So at lower levels, it might be, I think it's 6, some might be 7, some might be 8, but it destroys and removes, that particular color tile on the board. And of course, Quake's team affiliation are heroes, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I want to say, was she a member of Team Cap, Team Iron Man? Yeah, I think it doesn't really matter because both the 3-star, both 5-star versions of Iron Man and Captain America are bad. Alright, now we got Misty Knight here. I need to eliminate a couple of these boosts here. I'm just going to roll with the team up boost. So Misty, her colors are the exact same like Quake, but I'm going to go into detail about her powers real quick before we get into the fight, because even though I just recently looked at Misty's powers before hopping on and recording the video, I forget because, well, I don't use Misty a lot, admittedly. Bionic Beatdown, this is her green ability, it costs 8. It does damage to the target, then it'll do additional damage for any fortified tiles that's on the board, and then it'll remove the fortifications of up to 5 tiles on the board. And then obviously removing enemy fortifications first. That's the most important caveat. It'll remove enemy fortifications first. So an example would be if you were facing off against a Beta Ray build and then you use Bionic Beatdown, it would take out Bill's fortification with his tile first, and then any other tiles that will be fortified. Alright, Satellite Specialist, and this is controlled. Both of these here are 6. Or, okay, this is controlled as 6. Satellite Specialist is 7. So it converts 2 random basic tiles to her team's strongest color. So in this case here, it'll be green. And then fortifies and improves 2 random special tiles on the board. Sadly, we won't be able to use the passive portion because we won't have any allies in this fight here. And then this is control. This is the ability that costs 6, where she'll create attack tiles on the board on a chosen row on random basic tiles, and then if those tiles happen to land on on Misty strongest color or Quake strongest color, which in this case is green, then those tiles will become fortified and then deal damage. And of course, you also deal damage to the target as well. Alright, for lesser equipped Misty, you're going to try and gather as much green as possible. You want to try and gather as much blue as possible because you don't want Quake to do either her Earthquake or the Resonance Frequency. You know, you got a 1 in 3 chance of her hitting colors that you need, and we just don't want that. And of course, Misty's her team affiliations are heroes, defenders, and I think that should be it. Take some green. We'll take this yellow, leave her with match 4 with team ups. Again, like I said, we're just trying to make the best possible match. You know, let the board go how we want to go. Here I'm gonna make the business decision and grab green. But you're probably thinking, well, why not blue? Remember, we're trying to not let Quake get her strongest powers off. And as I let a green match go there. Again, yellow's irrelevant for the fight. You can make as many yellow matches as you want. Alright, Resonance Frequency is taking away blue, which that's going to sting a little bit. Grab more yellow. I'm actually gonna let her take the match 4. I want to set this here up. Alright, now let's find a road that has the most green. So I think it's this one here. So hit this as control. Get those fortified, do some damage. Do some more damage here while fortify them. Get some green on the board. Now let's Bionic beat her down. There you go. And I got a team up too. So yay. As you see, yeah, I finished off this here. I didn't realize also that was a Crash the Titan today. Normally I would take the time out and look and see beforehand, but I kind of had retaliations to deal with in PvP, so that's slightly more important than, not saying getting the video out, but it's, how can I put it? In order for me to progress in the game, I kind of wanted to do those PvP fights, and the way that I had my setup going, like I couldn't plug the headphones in and then jump back into the game, because then I would lose the fights. Marvel Puzzle Quest is weird. Alright. So Bionic V-Down, as you've seen in the fight, it's a pretty strong ability, but again, it really depends on the fortified tiles that's on the board, or if you're using dudes and dudettes that make fortified tiles. That's always the downside about that. So, fortified tile users, this makes this power hit a little bit harder. Non-fortified tile users, you just get the 6,929 damage. But for what it does, it's decent. Saturday Specialist, I mean, I could see people putting this here at 5, you know, but it requires you to have special tiles on the board. If you don't have any special tiles on the board, then all you're pretty much doing is just converting random basic tiles to your team's strongest color. Now again, the increase in the strength of the fortified special tiles is it's okay. I mean, it's not anything to write home about, but it's so you got that option there. Okay. And then also the passive portion. Again, while it's it's cool to give some burst health. I mean, there's not gonna be too many situations when you have your fellow defenders where you're gonna want to heal. There was some interactions with fortified special tiles with Misty, but that's long since been squashed as a bug. So I kind of wish they would have kept it in game, but I'm gonna leave that alone. And then finally, this is control. Again, she does damage to the target, and then she creates, she creates attack tiles. And then, like I said before we reviewed her, she'll create those tiles fortified if they happen to land on the strongest color. So if you're playing with guys and gals whose strongest color happens to be purple, and you happen to land on a row full of purples, yeah, you're gonna have almost all those tiles there lined up with purple. And then of course you deal damage for each tile that's fortified that way. That's always a good thing. So I really pretty much leave Misty at a 5/3/5. Again, the heals are cool, but again, it's not anything that I'm going to fuss over about or say to myself, oh man, I wish I had her heals at 5, when it's okay. So as we see here, affiliation, yeah, she was a member of Team Iron Man. Okay, which again, it makes sense because her arm is made from Stark Tech, not Rand Tech as in the Defenders TV show. Alright? So as far as people to pair her up with, anybody that can really fortify tiles. So again, her Defenders teammates, Luke Cage, he'll be able to fortify her attack tiles with his yellow ability. Now you'll have a choice of which blue you want to fire, either Misty's blue or Iron Fist blue, depending upon if you want strike tiles or if you want to get the attack tiles on the board. Same with their green abilities. Is that, do you want direct damage and your fortified tiles destroyed, or an Iron Fist case, do you want direct damage and then add some number of black tiles to your AP pool? So again, you got options there. It's not necessarily a rainbow per se, but you have multiple options to use powers, which is always a good thing. Another person that I've used Misty with in the past is Black Panther and Shuri, because again, they make fortified tiles, and again, you have multiple options on whose blue to use, whether Black Panthers or Misty's. and then you got multiple options on which green to use, whether you want to use Shuri's to stun, or if you want to use Misty's to deal damage and get a target out of the fight. Also too, I have used, where is Magic? I've used Magic as well. Use her abilities to fortify tiles anytime you fire up a power. And then also add the the protect tile, so give yourself a little bit more health to deal with the projectiles. I mean, not to deal with projectiles, but to have projectiles on the board so you take less damage. And then, of course, Misty will fortify and increase the strength of those projectiles by however much you have her listed. Alright, think here. Who was another person that deals with fortified tiles? I want to say Carolina D deals with fortified tiles, don't you? I know you deal with protect tiles, rising stun. Let's see here. What do you think? I know her fortified countdown tile. Okay, it was just the fortified countdown tile I was thinking about. I know Jim Hammond Human Torch does it whenever you fire off powers and abilities, so he might be a good option too. Because once you get the board set up, and then you have a pretty good green with his green. If you wanted to, bionic beat down somebody with Misty Knight, that's an option too. Lizard, duh. Lizard's another character with fortified tiles. Art Complex, because his is automatically fortified. And then Monica Rambeau, if you use her supply drone, if you want to have it fortified, so there's your guaranteed repeater tile there. And I want to say that's it, at least in 4-star land. 5-star land, I mean, you got Heimdall, he'll create fortified special tiles. You have Odin, who create fortified special tiles, but it requires him to jump out in front, and you may or may not have the wherewithal or the time or want to deal with the hassle of having Odin to jump in front just so you can create fortified tiles. But again, those two there are options as well. And that is, well, I mean, you could use 5-star Kingpin too, but no one really wants to use 5-star Kingpin. Oh, and Battery Bill because of his fortified blue, but again, you probably want to use his blue over Misty's blue if you're in 5-star land. And yeah, now I'm starting to ramble on. So that's going to end this Crash of the Titans here. If you haven't done so already, I got a spicy taco vault with Polaris, but I don't think my Polaris has a saved cover. But that's digressing. So the next Crash of the Titans in about 4 days and 11 hours as of this recording will be Hulkbuster Iron Man, who's had his time who's had his time to shine back in the day, and now is sort of kind of getting a resurgence with Shang-Chi. So we'll take a look at him in the Crash and talk about him. So hopefully this video wasn't too long. If it was, I'll try and do better next time. Until the next video, hugs, pieces, and treat your fellow human beings, with a modicum of decency.